your major malfunction? Didn't mommy and daddy show you enough attention when you were a child?
Let's play this backwards and see if it gets any better.
Let's get down to business. What do you say?
Show me the money!
Always be closing. Always be closing.
You're now listening to Boots to Business with Daniel Hrabowski.
And welcome everybody to another episode of Boots to Business. My name is Daniel Hrabowski. You can listen to us every Sunday on WFLA Orlando from 5 to 6 p.m. And then you can find that on your dial at 93.1, 94.1, excuse me, 107.7. You can find us online on the YouTube channel for Boots to Business. You can find us on all of the socials, and you can go to www.boots-2-business.com. In studio with me today, as always, Melissa Jacob from Striking Brand.
Hello, hello.
And our guest today is still sitting in the same seat he was 10 minutes ago, Mickey Sprinkle from Coastal Claim Service.
Hello.
And the first part of today's show is brought to you by the Insurance Claim HQ, powered by the Hare Shannara Trial Attorneys. Their commitment is to help make you whole again after a disaster. You can call them at 844-252-4684. Visit them at insuranceclaimhq.com. So we just wrapped up. We're actually doing a double recording today. We wrapped up a episode with Mickey talking very specifically about processes and hiring and firing practice and stuff like that. We kind of talked between the recordings that we're going to lighten it up a little bit since we're going into Christmas. We're going to talk a little bit about family. We're going to talk about dysfunction because everybody starts to get into the stress and the anxiety of the holiday season, right? So as a business owner and as a person in a high-level position in a business, you end up having to accommodate all these people in their chaotic family situations. You're trying to squeeze in Christmas parties. You're trying to squeeze in gifts for your employees, if that's what you do, Secret Santa, white elephants, all this junk that everybody wants to come up with. I just have reserved myself to just buying people bottles of bourbon.
The kids, too.
Yep.
They love it.
So, fun fact.
The parents.
Fun fact. Almost every bourbon manufacturer also makes maple syrup.
Oh, nice.
So if you go to Maker's Mark, Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, all of those guys, they all make maple syrup as well.
Didn't know that.
Yep. So kids love syrup because kids love sweet stuff. So are you guys doing anything as Coastal? Are you guys doing any sort of Christmas party, any sort of,
We are.
Whatever.
Christmas
what do you
party tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. So that's it will have already happened by the time this episode airs because this episode won't actually air until probably New Year's Eve, which is kind of cool because we're going to be able to look. Oh, this one's actually going to go Christmas Eve. I was just told by the magic voice in my head.
Wow.
So this will work out because they're going to roll right into Christmas as this episode airs, and it'll be kind of cool. So your guys' Christmas party will have been done. So you guys bring in people from wherever they live in the country.
Yep.
You guys all get together. I know last year I was there because I was at Coastal at the time. Are you guys doing it in the same location? Are you guys doing something different? Are you guys not that I care, not that I'm asking where exactly you guys are doing it, so this whole bunch of people can go bomb it and be like, ha. More so of just like, is it? My point in asking the question is that when you have employees and you have people, and especially when they're coming in from all over the country, you want them to feel welcome when they come in. You want them to feel like the people that they talk to on the phone or they see on Zooms all the time are actually real people, and they have families too, and so you want to make it welcoming. And a lot of times you'll see if certain people in the company have large enough homes, they'll do it there. They'll get out. I've seen them done at VFWs. I've seen them done in hotel conference rooms and things like that. So is that something? Are you guys doing like
We've outgrown the resident space.
That's what I figured. That's what I figured.
I think I talked to Marissa earlier on today, and I think we're looking at 120 probably.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So we have a venue, indoor, outdoor kind of venue with a band and
the Joys of Florida.
Yeah. The Joys of Florida. Not a.
Is it a Leonard Skinner cover band?
Of course. Is there any other kind?
Journey.
Journey.
I'll tell you what. New Year's Eve. It would have been 2008. I was still stationed at Fort Campbell. My brother and his wife were in town, and we were like, we don't have any plans for New Year's. So we were just like, let's screw it. Let's go to the sports bar. There was a sports bar outside the gate called Rebounds, and we went in there, and my brother's a huge Journey fan. and it was a Journey cover band. And if you are a Journey fan, that can go either direction.
Right.
This dude killed it.
Mm-hmm.
You would have thought that they just hit play on the jukebox and we were listening to it that way. I mean, every single note and all the dance moves, all the just kind of the frilly 80s,
Yeah.
bouffant
they did the
hair
style
it
and
was-
everything.
Oh, I mean, and absolutely killed it. But it can go the other way too. It
Mm-hmm.
can go absolutely the other way, and it can ruin the mood.
Yep.
So fun fact, my wife's pretty busy during the day. She has a job, and
She has a real kid job.
Yeah, she has
Yep.
a grown-up job. Very busy, so we rarely correspond during the course of a day.
Mhm.
So if I see her name on a text or something, I'll generally look because it's
Mhm.
probably someone with the kids or something.
Right.
So I get a text yesterday with a date, and then it just says, "How many tickets should I get?" Journey, Def Leppard, Steve Miller Band.
Wow.
I was like, wow,
Is it
that's,
in Dallas?
Yeah.
Very cool.
yeah, in August.
That's the cool thing. Dallas is got a lot of venues that you will see some of these kind of everybody. If you have a musical taste, they are playing at a venue somewhere in Dallas or the
Yeah.
DFW Metro. So you
Yeah.
get a lot of that really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So you guys are gonna have a live band at the Christmas party.
No, I think it's a DJ. I think we're actually doing a DJ Christmas party.
Like DJ Jazzy Jeff.
Maybe.
Hmm.
No, we're not going to do a formal dinner because then it's stuffy. Everybody just sits around
Yeah.
and eats, or just kind of unlimited appetizer, like an appetizer bar, right?
Right.
Hors d'oeuvres and
Well, and shout out to Frank. Frank's a hell of a cook, and I'm sure that he's going to want to insert himself into that in
Yeah.
some capacity. So
yeah. So we're gonna keep
um,
him out of it. Tonight,
that's
you
his
get to,
that's
get
his
to
zen.
relax.
That's his zen, man. Is
Yeah.
just sitting there cooking for people. So, and I can tell you, I don't think I ever had a bad meal over there. So, well, that's good. And I think it's important to do that. I think you want to make sure that you show people that are working for you that you do give some level of crap about
Mhm.
what they're doing and some. Yeah, I think it humanizes people a little bit
Yeah.
too,
Mhm.
right? But then you also open yourself up for some dysfunction. I've been to some
Oh.
Christmas gatherings, we'll call
Mhm.
them, where the alcohol gets flowing and
Oh yeah.
people start getting mouthy, and
Mhm.
the one guy that you have an issue with at work,
Oh,
you're like,
no.
now's the time. Now's the time that I cause a ruckus. And
Now, some we're going to tell the boss how they can run the company better.
Mhm.
oh,
Right?
I've been to those.
That's always a good one.
Yeah,
too.
I've been to
That's
those,
a good one.
and that's a dinner story.
That's
Um,
that's a whole different show.
Oh,
That's a
I've been
whole
there,
show.
and
Yeah.
because again, it's even better when it's a spouse. When the spouse who's not in
Yes.
there every day
Mm.
wants to come in, you're like, let me tell you
No.
about how poorly you treat my significant
Oh
other.
goodness.
We used to get that at the military balls all the time. There was
Mhm.
always some wife
Oh,
that wanted to
I
come
could see
in and
that.
cause a total chaos,
Mm-hmm.
total and absolute chaos. And it was all because, and he always found out that it was always the dude who was always in trouble, and he had to, again, my punishment was always time. You
Mhm.
can take away a lot of stuff from guys, but you take away their time, it screws up everything
Mhm.
for them. And so it would be like, cool, PT starts at 6:30. You need to be here at 4:15.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, wow, that's really early. I'm like, it's gonna suck for you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I'm there too. I'm taking away my own time.
Mm-hmm.
But it was always those guys that would go back to their wives and be like, oh,
Right.
everybody's got to be there. And it's, Sergeant Rabowski's just being a jerk and he's just
Mhm.
doing this. Like, no, it's just you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you and me in a dark parking lot for 2 hours staring at each other going, why are we here?
Oh God,
Right.
that doesn't.
And
sound
because
fun.
nobody ever actually goes and tells their spouse
That
what
they
they
messed
actually,
up.
yeah, because they don't want to
Mhm.
know. And because a lot of times the stuff that they got in trouble for, they couldn't tell their spouse.
Right.
Mm.
So, that's a whole different
Fun.
conversation. But I think the Christmas parties and things like that are a great opportunity for you to be able to show your people that you care. It does
Mhm.
humanize them to a degree, and then it does also show that some of the people that are in leadership positions can actually relax a little bit too, and they're not focused solely on screwing up your life on a daily basis, right?
Mhm.
Ours is family friendly, right? Anybody wants to bring their kids, or have some events and
Mhm.
buy some gifts for the kids. And
Yeah,
it'd be fun.
I think you do that, and
Fun.
again,
That also helps kind of keep a lid on things too, right?
Mhm.
It's-
If you have kids
they
running
get, they
around.
get too wild, out of control, and a bunch of kids running around.
Yeah.
for some people,
For some people, yeah, but we got a good group. I'm not anticipating any drama at the coastal party, but we've all been there, right? We've all seen that.
there's always one guy.
We've all
always
seen,
one.
Yeah, we've all seen that Christmas party where it all turns bad.
Yeah, so we'll we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back from the break. Again, since this is going to be our Christmas episode, Merry Christmas to everybody. This
Merry
is Boots to
Christmas.
Business, and we'll see you guys here in a few minutes.
We now return to Boots to Business with Daniel Rabowski.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Boots to Business. My name is Daniel Rabowski. This portion of today's show is brought to you by Shield Tech Roofing Solutions. They're your premier destination for commercial roofing excellence when it comes to protecting your commercial property. You can trust their top-tier roof coatings and expert repair services. Their commitment is unparalleled customer service and roofing expertise. Give them a shout. Don't have their phone number, so I screwed that up, but you can visit them at shieldtechroofing.com and choose them for lasting high-quality commercial roofing solutions. So, in studio with me, as always, Melissa Jacob from Striking Brand.
Hello, hello.
And Mickey Sprinkle, the Vice President of Coastal Claims Services.
How are you?
About the same as I've been for the last hour and a half or
15.
so.
Right.
So this is our Christmas episode, so we're recording this a little bit early. And the last part of the show, we were talking about Christmas parties and the shenanigans that it kind of brings. But this time of year, I think, causes a lot of people a lot of stress. And I want to say a couple things that I think are really important. If anybody is listening to this and right now live or when it airs on the radio, don't put yourself out for people. Like, don't put yourself in debt for people for Christmas presents. Nobody would ever expect that out of you. That is a self-imposed expectation, right? Now your kids may want for stuff. Your girlfriend's kids may want something, whatever it is. Don't put yourself in a financial burden as you're starting the first part of the year. You don't want to stress yourself out, and the glow and the allure of that gift that you get those kids is going to be such a blip on the radar. You still have to pay your credit card bill. So don't go out of your way. The holidays are supposed to be time for relax. It doesn't matter what your religion is, just enjoy it. I mean, hell, right now we have a bunch of Hanukkah stuff up in here. There's Christmas stuff up in here. I don't care what you celebrate. Celebrate it, be happy, chill out, enjoy a couple days off with your family in whatever capacity that you do it. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're putting a financial strain or burden on yourself.
That's why I like Thanksgiving so much. It's my favorite holiday. So you just
Really?
get together and eat food, chill, hang out.
It's just a one day, then you send everybody home.
Yeah, Christmas is like, oh, I got to get stuff ahead of time, got to get the presents. So what do they want? What are your nieces? What are they into? Like all that whole
Oh, yeah,
thing.
and if
I'm
they're
just like,
teenagers, they don't have an answer.
oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
My oldest sent me, his Christmas list was like $1,500 worth of lacrosse stuff.
oh, yeah.
And I was like, well, good thing we're spreading this out to family because I'm
yeah,
not.
yeah, exactly. I get Amazon from
Oh,
my daughters.
So we did that
Get
for
Amazon
years.
wish lists.
Yeah, we used to do that for years. So Cooper figured out that he could go in and add stuff to the cart, and then he found the buy now button, so we had to lock him out. You've met Cooper.
That's the problem with Amazon, right? Especially when you have a teenager. Like I have a 14-year-old.
You want it? Oh,
She
we can
doesn't.
get it.
Yeah, she doesn't have. I mean, we won't have any issues with her at all. But if you buy it on Amazon and then she logs in to get some, she can see what you bought her.
Oh, yeah.
So I,
It's like, oh, crap.
so I have my own Amazon account,
Yeah.
and then Amy's had one that has become the family one.
Sure.
So if I'm ordering her something, I order it out of my own Amazon account, so she never sees it. So she'll see a charge for Amazon and be like,
Right.
These things don't make sense. And
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
today, as I was sitting here after Angela's show, I got a text said, "What'd you order from Temu?"
Oh, she's.
And I said, "Nothing."
she's
And
in
she sends me a
detective mode.
picture of a package
Yeah.
on my.
Does it have your name on it, though?
This is how we knew I didn't do it. It said to Dan Rabowski.
Oh.
And everybody who knows me knows that I hate being called Dan.
Yeah.
And so I said, somebody's setting me up. Open it up, and it was like one of those
Setting me
like
up.
tower cell phone chargers with like all the like USB ports.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, huh. I mean, that's useful.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
whoever sent it,
Thank you.
appreciate you. And I told it. So I texted my mom, and I was like, hey, did you send me? Because my mom still calls me Dan. Drives me crazy, but she's my mom, so she's allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And if she sent it, but like it was just this random stuff starts showing up, and then
Yeah.
we're trying to figure out where we're gonna be so we know whose gift,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like where we're.
Yep.
So like we're ordering stuff for the last 2 months that's getting delivered at Amy's parents' house,
Right.
and we're like, hey, don't open that box because
Right.
that's for you.
Right.
You know,
Right.
And
Well, at least you have you probably have different, people's names on. My daughter, 16, she'll order stuff and she'll say, just don't open it. And I'm like, but everything's going to have my name. Like,
Right.
how am I going to
Right.
know what to not open?
yeah. Now you go through our Amazon account. There's like 40 different names and
Mhm.
addresses in there. So we've finally over the years evolved, and it saves addresses and whatever. But it does. It's nerve wracking because it's like, well, depending on when I order this and it's going to be delivered is going to be dependent on where I ship it to.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
And especially if you travel, like we always end up going to most of the time we go to Indiana because I got to go get my oldest son from his mom's and
Mhm.
whatever. So we're trying to figure out how far out in advance. And then are we flying? Are we driving? Because if we're flying, then we
How
definitely
much you can bring
need-
back. And
Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
it's a mess.
I remember that when I lived in California and family was over on the East Coast. I'd be like, I know my daughter's only 2. Gift cards, please.
Yeah.
Like I can't fly back with like a Santa's bag full of gifts.
Well, it's like the same people like when they do the wedding registries and baby registries. Like I always just send money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to buy you that toast. I'll tell you, the last time I actually bought a gift was for one of the guys I was in the service with. I bought one of those like $300, like the bassinet that does all the things
Oh,
and
yeah.
vibrates and like. I was like, oh, that's cool. Nobody else is going to get that.
Mm-hmm.
We were in a good spot, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And I sent it to him, and he was like profoundly excited about it. But I was in my head, I was like, what if their baby shower was not at their house? What if the address was somewhere that they had to travel with this giant box? I mean, that box was half the size of this table. You can't travel with
Pain.
that.
We're the same way. You look at our Amazon list, and there's 10 addresses, 10 names,
Mhm.
because I don't live in my home state where we were born and raised.
Wait
All
a
my
minute.
family.
What? You're not a native Texan?
I'm not. I'm not a native.
Where are you from?
St. Louis.
Oh, that makes a whole lot more sense now.
But
there's, there's a bunch of stars that just aligned in my
right.
head.
Yeah, but 20 years, so I can say I'm from Texas.
Does that count?
But 20 is a mark. 20 is a marker.
How about 10? What happens at 10?
Nothing.
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 You're familiar.
Ooh, you're familiar.
Yeah.
There's a lot of layers to this conversation.
Yeah, but we do the same thing, right?
Mhm.
If I'm buying for my parents or I'm buying for my sister, I'll just Amazon right to their house.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't got to wrap it or nothing.
Well, and I think it loses some of the allure, right? Like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I ordered my oldest son's birthday is December 17th, so it's a week before Christmas. So
Mhm.
every year we get like one gift. It's like, hey, buddy, this is your birthday present,
Mm-hmm.
even though it kind of just sucks for him because they're so close. But so like we ordered it, and Amazon was like, do you want to gift wrap this? I was like, yep.
Yeah.
I don't even have to wrap it.
Yeah.
I don't do anything. And they're like, do you want to put a note? I'm like, happy birthday, bud. Love you.
Yeah.
And that was the extent of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I just remember it was a whole thing when I was a kid. Like your mom would go and she'd get all the wrapping paper out of the attic. And my wife still does this to a degree. Now, at some point when we get to her mom's, her and her mom will pull all the wrapping paper down and all the thing, and they're going to spend one night
Yeah.
just wrapping all these
That's
presents.
what I do.
And I'm like,
Sure.
no, you guys can have that. I'll be outside smoking a cigar,
Yeah.
drinking a bourbon.
We stage it.
Yeah.
We do a little bit at a time.
No, I do it all. I'm
Oh,
a
it's-
procrastinator, but
that's
I have a
horrible.
16-year-old now, so usually it's me and her, and she's
She can
super
help.
crafty too. Yeah, she loves
Yeah.
doing stuff
That
like
helps.
When I was a kid, there was always like a handful of little gifts that you knew, like, that it was always a set of pajamas.
that. Mm-hmm.
That was a family tradition for
Okay.
us. I don't know if it was for everybody else, but like
Mm-mm.
we got to open 2 gifts on Christmas Eve.
Okay.
One of them was the pajamas,
Okay.
because then we had to wear those pajamas for Christmas Day.
Okay.
And then the other one was a gift that we somehow thought we got to choose, but it was always staged by what mom and dad had out
Mhm.
there. And it was always something like a coffee cup that had like the hot cocoa in it
Ah.
or something,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But that was it.
Mhm.
And then we'd wake up the next morning and like the living room floor was just
Mhm.
flooded with stuff. And like, we don't do that with our kids. Each one of my boys is getting like 6 gifts
Mm-hmm.
total.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, as they get older, like you said, the lacrosse gear, right?
Yeah.
As they get older, it's less but
Yeah.
more.
Right. Yeah. And again, with the availability of things, you buy all this crap throughout the year.
Mhm.
you
That's what I
know.
was about to say. I'm screwing up this year because I just got my daughter tickets to like a music a show that she wanted to go to with her friend. I'm like, just blew money on that. I got her some sweats and stuff that were kind of expensive, and I'm like, what am I doing?
Right.
You're gonna get like a pack of gum for Christmas.
That's right. We used to do the Black Friday thing all the time too, and we haven't done Black Friday in the last couple of years. Like,
oh
I
yeah,
just,
no, I
We-
quit that. That
You don't
was,
have to anymore.
yeah, you
Because
just do it.
everything's online.
Yep.
Right?
well, yeah,
There's Cyber Monday, Black
Yeah.
Friday.
Cyber Monday's better, way better. than Black Friday, by the way.
yeah.
But like I took all the boys to Top Golf
Mm-hmm.
when I was home for Thanksgiving
Oh yeah.
because my nephews, their high school was playing in the state championship, and then they got clapped. And so I was like, "What do you guys want to do there? Can we go to Top Golf?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And there was 6 kids and me, and it was like $800. I
Oh
was like, "This
gosh.
is ridiculous."
Yeah.
And then we're going home for Christmas. They're like, "Can we do it again?" And I was like, "We'll figure it out."
That's
so
hilarious.
we'll talk a little bit more about the holidays and its total dysfunction when we come back. This is Boots to Business. I'm Daniel Rabowski. We'll see you guys in a few.
We now return to Boots to Business with Daniel Rabowski.
And welcome back. This is Boots to Business. I'm Daniel Rabowski. This is the third part of our Christmas Eve episode. This portion of the show is brought to you by Golden Temple Builders, and bringing decades of expertise to commercial renovations and remodels. Their commitment to you is clear written pricing options tailored specifically to your project. You visit them. That's the part that got me, the word visit.
Yeah.
Visit them at goldenTempleBuilders.com or call them at 321-508-0815 and let them help build your vision together. In studio with me is Melissa Jacob, Striking Brand,
Hello, hello.
and Mickey Sprinkle from Coastal Claims.
Hello.
So we're doing a little bit lighter of an episode today, talking mainly about the holidays and just the general angst and anxiety that comes along with it. And we were talking before the break a lot about, the open availability to things that didn't exist when we were kids. And one of the things my wife and I were talking about the other day was that, like, our grandparents were the ones that kind of kept everybody together. And it seems like once they all passed, it was like we don't really get together on these massive scales anymore. And I don't know how your guys' parents are. I know it's been a conversation for, like, my mom. It's like, well, we don't have these big, but I think the amount of siblings is different too. Because, like, I don't know, my mom has, what is she, like the middle of 9, right? My dad's the middle of 6, something like that. And, like, it's just me and my brother.
Yeah. So my family's the same way.
And so we have all these cousins.
Yeah.
And then, by the time it gets to our kids, like, Amy and I have Cooper. Is it? I have my older son. But outside of that, like, that 1-2 kid metric seems to work. It's not like, our grandparents were, where they're just knocking kids out of the park all the time. And then you had 9 kids and 9 boyfriends and girlfriends and all this stuff and then imagine buying presents for all that. And they still managed to put a ton of stuff under the Christmas tree. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But I look at stuff now and it's like little stuff that, like, Cooper wants. He wants all these little fidget toys and all this stuff. And some of them are like $30, $40 for a fidget toy. And I'm like, no, dude, I'm not getting that for you.
Oh, yeah.
And one, because I don't want the noise.
Yeah.
I hate the noise, all the
Right.
clicks and the pops and all that junk. Because now, how many kids do you have, Mick,
I have 2.
and their ages?
I have 2, 14 and 10, both girls.
Wow. All of our kids are around the same.
Now, my sister, I only have one sibling, but she kind of broke the mold. She has 4.
Okay.
So she's got quite a few.
Hmm.
And then she fosters as well.
Oh.
So
Wow.
there'll be times that she has 6.
Wow.
So, speaking of that, I think that's a really good segue for a second. So, I went to the Revolt X retreat here in Orlando last weekend, and it's a leadership, personal development retreat. And I think when I first talked about going, in my head, it was going to be one of those, like, mattress pounding, crying, let out all your feelings kind of thing. I told Amy, I was like, if I get there and there's, like, mattresses wrapped in duct tape so we can beat them up, I'm coming home, right? It turned out to be not that at all. It was actually from a personal and professional development standpoint, probably the most profound thing that I've experienced in the last few years. And one of the things that one of the guys there was talking about, and I won't mention him by name because I don't want to necessarily go down that road, but he was talking about adoption. And, they weren't able to have kids. They adopted 2 kids, and they're huge advocates for adoption. And there's been this huge influx of adoptions here. And then we were talking about it the other day in regards to Christmas, because what do you do for these kids who may have been in the system in foster care or whatever for, their whole lives? Some of these kids are babies. Some of these kids are 10. I mean, there was a few years ago, my wife brought this kid who was 17 and she's like, seriously, can we adopt this child? And I was like, that's an adult. We're not adopting this
Right.
person. But he had been in the foster system his whole life, and all he wanted was a family to spend Christmas with. So while we all sit here and take the holidays and we make jokes and we're talking about a lot of the stuff we take for granted, and then there's the opposite side of that coin where there's these, and they're kids. The kids don't deserve the stuff. Like, if you as an adult don't want to
Right.
participate in the holidays, cool. Don't. I've eaten plenty of Thanksgiving dinners at Applebee's, right? I'm cool. I've spent plenty of Thanksgivings and Christmases in the desert. Cool. But a lot of times for the kids, it's tough to quantify that, right? And so I think it's great that your sister fosters kids. I think it's a tremendous right and honor to be able to provide something like that. And knowing you as a person, I would assume your family's very much like you are, and very accepting to these kids, knowing that they're not. And and I imagine that there's some emotional attachment to that for sure.
Yeah, it's fun. And, unfortunately, the system's broken. There's
Oh,
horror
100%.
stories.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, It's she's currently not fostering any right now. It's just her and her kids and her husband, obviously. But yeah, it's sad, right? It's there's kids, like you said, they just want somebody to love them.
Yeah.
Right? They just want acceptance, and they just want some type of stability.
Yeah. Well, and this will air on Christmas Eve, but as we've been recording today, my phone, I'm probably about 40 text messages deep, and my brother-in-law, not to go into a ton of detail because it's not my business to tell, but they just got granted permanent custody of a child that was not theirs.
Sure.
And that's the best thing that could have happened to this kid. He's 2 and essentially without parents. And Amy's brother stepped in and stepped up, and knowing that his youngest is 16, knowing that he was
starting over,
a year and a half out
Right.
from not having the kid responsibility anymore, right? And to step in, and his girlfriend, Ashley, they're phenomenal people. They're great from a parental standpoint. And while we've been on here, the judge granted permanent custody to them of that child. And, it's like, there you go. Like,
it's amazing.
You're impacting the life of somebody in such a profoundly positive way. And I think sometimes it's hard to not see those things for what they are a lot of times unless you're directly involved. And so, you guys, I'm sure, how old are the biological children compared to the foster children? They're about the same age, because I know that happens a lot.
Yeah, it's always ranged, right?
Oh, really?
She'll have so my sister's oldest is 14, and then they kind of stagger down from there, but she'll have teenagers, she'll have babies.
Really?
It's just
Oh, wow.
She gets a call in the middle of the night, right? Like, hey, we need you to take this kid.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And people don't realize how fast that stuff happens, too.
Happens
because as soon as like I know in Indiana it's called CASA, and I think that's a nationwide thing, the Child Advocate Services or whatever. As soon as CASA gets involved, like there's a huge shift and a huge change in the dynamic of what's going on for that child very, very quickly. Yeah. And the authority that those CASA representatives have is crazy. Like when we were kids, it was just CPS. Like you were just afraid the CPS was going to show up at your house.
Right.
Which I had CPS called on my mom a couple of times because I do dumb things. And they were never anything that my parents did. It was always like we were wrestling around one time, and my mom turned and swung an elbow and knocked a tooth out. I went to school the next day, and they're like, "Hey, what happened?" I'm like, "My mom elbowed me right in the mouth."
Right.
And before I got home, CPS was at our house.
Good job. Jesus.
And so
What kind of snitches you got at your school?
oh yeah, no, I was like, no, my mom
kidding.
hit me right in the face.
I was bleeding. She was laughing. It was
Yeah,
a good time.
right.
It was
Dad
like,
was there. He was laughing.
Yeah.
yeah. So
And then I slept in the closet.
now, if you listen to my mom tell that story, she cried for like hours afterwards because she knew she caused me pain. Right? It was
Right.
the whole thing. But that was the only thing we knew when we were kids. And CPS didn't take kids out of the house. They would as long as your mom didn't have a needle in her arm, that was it. They weren't whatever. Now there are tons of advocacy groups, and they're doing good things. That system's so screwed up, and I don't know that you can fix it. So the best thing that you can do is just try be a positive impact on some of these kids in some capacity, and hope that they don't become a victim of the system. The problem is that when it comes to adoption conversations, it's just like going and getting a puppy at the pound, unfortunately. If from a visual perspective, they're like, like, I don't know if you've ever seen how the adoption stuff works. In my very limited experience, it's you get a pamphlet of like, these are the children who are available for adoption, and these are the ones that we think fit based on your current stuff, and then you get to pick a kid. It's the craziest thing. It's like ordering out a catalog. And so then if you have a child who has a disability, a learning issue, deformity, a cleft lip, whatever, like you're decreasing the likelihood of that kid ever getting picked by a parent and or getting picked and then cycled back into the foster system. And it's sad, man. And so when you see families take these kids in and they do really good stuff for them for Christmas and stuff like that, it's great.
Yeah. We try to get our kids involved, right? We do the angel tree thing where you adopt the families, and every now and then that'll get a little out of hand. It's like, hey, we're going to get 2 kids. And you end up with 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can see how that would get out of hand really quick. And there's one lady right now on TikTok going around telling kids to send their Christmas list in, and she's drawing them at random. And she's like, all right, Susie, here's your Christmas list. And she's buying the stuff and sending it to them. But
Wow.
we'll talk about that. Talk about Christmas and all its junk when we get back from the break. This is Boots to Business. I'm Daniel Rabowski. We'll see you guys in a few minutes.
We now return to Boots to Business with Daniel Rabowski.
And welcome back to the last part of our Christmas episode of Boots to Business. My name is Daniel Rabowski. In studio with me is Melissa Jacob from Striking Brand
That is me. Hello.
and Mickey Sprinkle from Coastal Claim Services.
You're having a day today, buddy.
You know,
He's doing it.
it happens. I took a week off. I didn't record an episode last week. It's getting me. So actually, this part of today's episode is brought to you by Coastal Claim Services, your trusted partner in public insurance adjusting. Headquartered here in Florida and serving clients nationwide, they specialize in first-party insurance claims. And when it comes to protecting your home or business and ensuring that you receive a fair insurance settlement, count on their experienced team of public adjusters. You can visit them at coastalclaims.net and let them be your advocate for a hassle-free property insurance claims process. Love that.
That's us.
So
Amazing.
we've been spending some time today being a little bit more relaxed about things, and we're kind of talking about the holiday. Last segment of the episode, we were talking about foster care and adoption and family sizes and all this stuff. And you were saying that your sister, who is your only sibling, right?
Yes.
She's got a couple kids of her own, and then she fosters
She has
a
four,
handful.
yeah. Four of her own.
She has four of her own.
Four of
then
her
she
own,
fosters.
and she fosters from time to time.
So
she's taking a little break now, but yeah,
I imagine it's got to get taxing, man. Like,
yeah, and they're, she's also a school teacher, right? So there's a million things going on all the time. So
yeah. So how's the dynamic of that look when you guys do, like, if you guys get together all for Christmas and all that? I mean, I'm sure you guys want to
it's
make sure.
chaos.
Yeah?
It is absolute chaos.
But it's good.
It's good chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the kids understand. And
Oh, yeah.
there's not,
No,
they
her
understand that-
kids are really accepting and go out of their way to make the foster kids feel welcome.
And that's great, man.
That's
I
great,
think,
yeah.
again,
It's a good, valuable lesson for all of them,
Mhm.
right? Like, you're really lucky.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and it's one thing to tell your kids that, especially when you finally kind of fight to the top of whatever class you're going to be in,
Right.
right? If you're like,
Mhm.
we grew up, I remember my dad trading food stamps
Right.
for dollars, right? And
Sure.
to be able to make the money that we do now, or you want to spoil your kids, but then you also want them to understand what it takes to make that stuff. And we were, as a matter of fact, we were having a conversation with Cooper last night or night before at dinner because he was. We got an email from the school saying Cooper didn't do this because he said it's stupid and he shouldn't have to, right?
Perfect.
And I told him, I said, buddy, you don't get to decide if this is stupid. He goes, why are we practicing something that we already know?
Mhm.
And I said, well, that's how you get it really ingrained into who you are. That's how you develop that skill. And he goes, that doesn't make sense. And I said, okay, think about it like this. You go to soccer practice so you play well in games, right? He said, yeah, but there's a game at the end of it. And I said, okay, I can see where you're going with this. I said, people go to work and we do the same thing over and over and over and over again to make money. I said, what do you think would happen if I was like, well, doing the work part's stupid. I
Mhm.
just want the paycheck. He goes, we'd live in a box. I'm
Mhm.
like, really dramatic.
Mhm.
But yeah, essentially, see, it's hard sometimes to get the kids to understand the dynamic of it. And a lot of this was also compounded into he lost his Crocs and he goes, I guess we just got to go buy me a new pair. And like, it's not like Crocs are expensive,
but
but
just the
the
mentality.
so nonchalant, the matter of fact of it.
Mhm.
Like,
Right.
oh, well, I guess we'll just go buy another pair. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, you better find your Crocs, homie. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I had a friend who started doing really well in her business and did a bunch of things all at one time. Like got a Tesla, moved into a different neighborhood, and the kids were like 10-ish, something like that. And I remember them just like coming up to me saying, "Oh, we're rich now." Like, and I'm like, "Oh,
Right.
you guys are going to be a pain in the butt when you're older." Like,
and you don't realize how much kids pay attention to some of these things, right?
Everything.
I remember the first time we got an insurance claim check in, and it wasn't our check; it was the claim check,
Mhm.
and it was like $650,000 or something. It was one of the
Right.
first big checks we had ever
Mhm.
gotten when we started being PAs, and it was sitting on the counter because I needed to take it to the bank, or I needed to endorse it and send it to the insured.
Sure.
But Cooper saw it,
Mhm.
and he said, "Dad, do we have $654,000?" I said, "No."
Heck yeah, buddy.
No, we don't. He said, but that piece of paper says that we do. And I
Mhm.
said, that's other people's money.
Mhm.
That's right.
I'm going to get a fee out of this, but
Mhm.
but it's not that.
Mhm.
And he goes, so we're not rich? I'm like, we're not rich. And he
Dang
said,
it.
dang it.
So close.
And then he sees all these other things, like whatever it is. It's, it's like we'll go to dinner and the bill will be $200. And he's like, oh my God, we must be rich. It's like, well, no, but we
No, we're
work.
broke now.
But we work. Yeah, this
Right.
is this is the 200,
Take
the
that
last
to go.
250 I had, you know, and they don't understand
Yeah.
the level of the things that we have to do to get to where we're at. But you don't want them to, though, right? Like you don't want them at their age. I think that's a big problem nowadays. Is that parents want to push adult conversations on the kids, regardless, right? I mean, I think the easy identifier to that right now is all the pronouns and all their junk. I don't care how anybody feels about it. Not my circus, not my monkeys. But that's a huge indicator to the types of adult conversations that we let kids into. I watched this thing earlier this morning. This girl let her 6-year-old go at a comedian, Matt Rife, on the internet, and he
6?
yeah, the child was
Wow.
6, and said, and Matt Rife's mean to girls or something, and it was in regards to his joke about how Saturn has rings but your mom doesn't,
Yeah.
and which is hilarious.
Yeah.
So he responded to the 6-year-old, and the mom's having a fit. She's like, Matt Rife came at my 6-year-old,
Oh,
and then all these other
gosh.
women are like, no, Matt Rife's a big old turd.
Yeah.
But you put your 6-year-old in
Sure
that
there,
position.
right.
You're the one that your 6-year-old shouldn't even know who Matt Rife is.
Yeah, that's what I'm
No.
saying.
And this woman is like, no, I am advocating for my child, and no,
Sure.
you're abusing your child.
Mhm.
Like if you really want to boil it down to what it is, your 6-year-old should not have the slightest idea who
Mhm.
Matt Rife is.
Mhm.
Hey, I had to. We were talking about Cooper and not liking what they were having him do in school. I
Yeah.
had that conversation the other day with my 10-year-old,
Mhm.
and I hate to side with her, but she was right.
Oh, 100%. Most of the time they
Because-
are.
Mhm.
She said, "Dad, when have you ever had a hard thing happen in your life and you played the recorder to make it better?" And I said,
Mhm.
"You're right."
Sad. You know what?
I'm like, man, I like to argue this
Listen,
out.
Mary had a little lamb will get you a long ways.
She's like,
I
Dad,
know. Not on a recorder.
I'm not good at it. I don't want to be good at it. I'm like, honey, but you have to do it. And she's like, that's when she hit me with when have you ever used a recorder to fix a problem? And I was like, wow.
Oh God, I just
And I look over at my wife, and my wife's just like, that's your kid.
we're
You
we're
made
gonna
that.
use that as a TikTok.
Mhm.
That story right there. That one's going in the vault.
That's right.
Every once in a while, your kids will throw those zingers at you, though.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm supposed to say something profound and tell
Yeah,
her
no.
how she has to do her homework and learn the song and recorder, but she 100% nailed it. And I'm like, yeah, you know what, just
Never mind, you know.
yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you right now. You don't have to learn how to play that recorder, kid.
Yeah.
You're gonna be fine.
We don't want to hear it
You
anyway.
remember, like all those things that yeah. Oh,
Practice
I hate
outside.
noise. I hate noise making toys. Hate them. And Cooper has an Oculus,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got the headphones cranked up, and I can
You
hear
can
the
hear it?
other kids like in our living room.
Yeah.
And because in Florida we don't insulate houses apparently.
Right.
It's the craziest
Mhm.
thing. I can hear everything. When
Mhm.
the lawnmower guys show up to my house, it sounds like they're in my living room.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, why is there no insulation here? And it's like, well, it doesn't really get cold. And I'm stupid. I like to be insulated
Mhm.
from the sound.
Mhm.
The sound.
But that's
Uh,
good that you can hear what the kids are saying, though. No?
It's true. It is. It's true. So like when my oldest went through puberty,
Mm-hmm.
it was hilarious because I was sitting in my living room one day and I was listening to him on Xbox, and I walked into Cooper's room. I was like, who is that adult that
Mhm.
you were talking to? And he goes, that's Tanner. I said, no, it's not. And so I called Tanner. I'm like, hey. And he's like, hey, Dad. And I'm like, what the crap?
It happened fast. Yeah.
What in the world?
Overnight.
And so I have
That's
to
funny.
realize that sometimes he's playing with these kids that are the age of his brother or his cousins and all that, and
Mhm.
they sound like adults.
Mhm.
And I have to walk in there. I'm like, hey,
Mm-hmm. yeah.
Right.
you know, he's like, well, and it's always somebody's friend's cousin's
Mhm.
brother. And I'm like, you don't actually know this person. He's like,
Mhm.
yeah, I do. Mickey knows the guy. And if Mickey knows him, then this person.
Ooh.
So, real quick, is there anything you want to shoot?
No, you can find us at coastalclaims.net. And like Daniel said in the intro, let us be your advocate out there. So,
And you can
Merry Christmas, everyone.
And you can email Mickey at msprinkle@coastalclaims.net. You're welcome for that.
Thank you. Yeah,
Uh,
please do that.
So real quick, I want to tell everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it is that you celebrate. A couple of sponsors that we want to make sure we say thank you to as well: Apex Performance Chiropractic, Claim Wizard CRM, Z Goalkeeper Academy. We're going to wrap up the year. It's been an interesting ride so far. Melissa, is there anybody you want to say thank you to real quick like?
Merry Christmas to my babies.
There you go. Ha ha. Merry Christmas. All right, this has been Boots to Business. I'm Daniel Rabowski. We'll see you guys after the new year.